いつまでも老公に会え。座して死を待ちうれば潔く腹かっさばいて武士らしい最後を遂げたい。
These were known as samurai.
Hip-hop culture and the early modern Japanese samurai military have been intertwined for quite some time now, whether it be the earliest roots of the Wu-Tang Clan, Nujabes and Fat John, or the recent anime soundtrack titled by hip-hop producer Flying Lotus. Hip-hop artists clearly have a fascination with the samurai culture, the myths surrounding them, and their martial virtues. This cultural collision has birthed some of the most incredible albums in the entire genre, and one of these is Cars' Honor Killed the Samurai.
No one's mixing words, vicious verbs emerge from being this disturbed. As a kid observed on curves where they twist the herb.
Car isn't one to shy away from the references to different cultures, religion and mythology, whether it be the Greek mythology references on Orpheus versus Sirens, or the biblical wordings on descendants of Cain. But perhaps his most in-depth work is his fifth full-length album, which focuses on the morals and beliefs of the early Japanese samurai, and how this conflicts with the life he was forced to live. While this isn't as direct as the references and the ones on an album like Descendants of Cain, Carr still manages to pack every line and draw parallels of the street life with the life of a samurai throughout the entire album, and this all starts with the opening track, Conflicted.
Singing tough upbringing, swore it was the hardest. A lot of years starving before I was.
This is Carr's most popular song on streaming to date, and for good reason. He opens up the album with a track about the tension about being a good person, following a samurai's morals, and doing what one needs to do to survive in the streets. It perfectly sets the tone for the rest of the album, and the first line, I strain to obtain, so I give more, perfectly feeds the theme of the album. Carr was forced to break the law to obtain money, which breaks his moral integrity. However, he was forced to do this so he could provide for his loved ones and give back to those around him. This is the theme of the album, survival versus moral integrity. The code of Bushido is 8 ethics or ideals that a samurai is supposed to follow until death. Benevolence, courage, respect, sincerity, righteousness, honour, self-control and loyalty. Carr attempts to follow this code, but the society he has grown up in has forced him to stray away from these ethics.
Mommy told me be a good boy. Need you alive, please survive, you my hood joy. Pops told me stay strapped, son. Need a shotty, be a body and catch one.
This hook highlights the conflict which he comes from. His mother wants him to stay out of trouble, his father wants him to be armed. Both parents aim for survival, but this conflict between ethics and action have haunted Carr since his childhood. The entire album he raps over these layered backdrops surrounding percussion samples and hi-hats, which provide for the dreamy electric guitar which leads most tracks, and this is the same for the second track, Just.
Clap with the force. Can't remember none of my members going from natural cause. Never folly about who was body and who was spared. The first to know it's worse to show if you was scared.
Kai's once again attempting to balance his morals and action. It's one of the most obvious nods to samurai culture on the album, but many layers packed into these few lines. First line is Carr stating that none of his friends have died naturally, but all ended up being murdered due to the life they were living. Carr was originally in a group called Natural Element, and here Carr could be referencing how they all went their separate ways due to their personal issues. He references folly, the lack of sense. He's never lost his composure over the death surrounding him, as he didn't want to show weakness to his enemies. Obviously this links directly to the samurai culture. They must have remained composed, even in the face of death. In the next track, That Cold and Lonely, Carr references his childhood and how it moulded him into the person he is today. The line, I ain't scared to die, this what it looked like, really standing out. Then we get one of the greatest hip-hop tracks of all time.
To die when it is right to die, to strike when to strike is right.
This sample is from Bushido, the soul of Japan, as are all the samples from Honor Killed the Samurai. This specific sample is describing the Bushido principle of rectitude, The samurai, or in this case Ka, must choose when it is right to show restraint and know when to abandon that restraint. I could spend hours talking about this track. I find there to be so much packed in the 3.5 minute runtime, but I'm just gonna keep it short. Heat gone, we mourn the night, is the hook, and it is packed with so many different meanings. Heat gone could mean that shots were fired, or that the shooting is stopped. This could also be in reference to it being the night time, as the sun, the source of heat, is set. Kai has either shown regret over the fact he has killed someone, or this is a blanket statement referring to where he is from. This is common, so when you hear shots followed by silence, you know one of your peers have died. Notice how night and night are homophones. Samurai soldiers were the equivalent of knights. So in this case, Kai's mourning the loss of a fallen soldier. I'm gonna leave it at that, otherwise I'll be here all day.
In his eyes beams the fire of ambition. His mind is a thirst for knowledge.
A samurai will never chase money, instead seeking the power that comes with knowledge. This sample shows that wealth is just a byproduct of living a good life. Ka doesn't want to chase fortune and success, but describe how he needs to survive today's society. The line, "If I happen to make cash, don't let the cash make me," brings instant recognition to this concept. If the cash makes Ka, he won't be able to focus on his own artistic vision. He doesn't want the materialism to consume him. Well, you must have heard the phrase, you give a poor man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach him how to fish, and you'll feed him for a lifetime. Well, Ka puts his own spin on this.
Feed the lone starving, give them gift, how to fish and see their own garden. The right meals, reveal destinations, life skills.
Ka strives for knowledge, and even though he believes money is essential in today's society, he believes knowledge brings power, and to progress his home forward, he must share this knowledge. I need money, not for trivial material, just to fix our flaws. The whole cause is ethereal. Hip-hop is known for braggadocio, parading of wealth. Ka just wants to improve his surroundings. In one of the final lines, Ka references seppuku. This suicide ritual was performed by samurai soldiers to voluntarily die with honour rather than be captured by their enemies. They would stick a sharp blade into their belly, slicing left to right. Spill my guts is an obvious reference to this, but it also means how Ka speaks about suicide in his music, which he often does. Basically, Ka would rather die with honour than let materialism and money consume his soul. In the next few songs, Ka references his childhood, growing up in Brownsville, his delve into the street life, how his ability to rhyme found him a way out of that life. And then some of the most powerful lines on the entire album come on the track Finer Things.
I'm scared to put seeds in the uterus that love me. Growing knowing my roots indeed rotten. Produce of bad fruits on my family trees dropping.
Ka's imagery shines once again. He's scared to have a child with the woman who loves him the most, worried that his roots are rotten. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree is a famous ideology. Rotten trees produce bad fruits, and Ka believes the life he has lived, his childhood, will taint anyone he brings into this world. Ka believes his family is cursed with death due to the experiences he has had growing up in Brownsville, losing his loved ones. Ka's well aware the tone he creates in this album, as the samples and production used throughout is reminiscent of a 1950s Japanese film. Then we get the electric guitar which leads the 10th and final track. I wish we ain't have to live like this is the line that ties this album together. Ka didn't want to break his moral code, but he had to survive in Brownsville. He had to strive for street dominance, even if it meant breaking the code of Bushido. Ka is a modern day samurai, but he also recognises no true samurai could survive in today's world, especially in the place he grew up. Hence the title, Honor Killed the Samurai.
So it goes, on the block with the rock up, nice dribbling, time spent getting bent, hard to be upright citizen.
as I said before, some of the greatest music in hip hop and any genre for that matter came from this cultural collision of samurais and early Japanese military and hip hop. But it just works. I mean, just look at Wu-Tang for example. Look at the influence they've had on the genre. Look at the amount of classic albums they've created. A lot of their sound comes from this cultural collision. And Kai is one of the greatest poets to ever live. And to unpack this album in a video is a task. The video would be hours long if I digested every line. I may end up doing a video on Descendants of Cain if this video ends up doing well. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, please leave a like and subscribe. It means a lot. Thank you.